Good evening and welcome to LegalTech Live, episode 74. Our guest tonight is Everett Pompeii of Instant Attorney, or myinstantattorney.com. And our guest co-host tonight is the legend, Erin Levine of Hello Divorce. Let me tell you a little bit about Everett Pompeii. He's the one wearing the orange shirt for those of you watching, or the orange hoodie for those of you watching.
On brand,
brand, neon orange. It's a great shirt, great hoodie. Established in let me tell you a little bit about Everett and a little bit about My Instant Attorney. Established in 2018 by Everett Pompeii, Instant Attorney grew out of our founders' frustration trying to track down all of the innovative legal solutions being developed for consumers and small and medium-sized businesses. There were already thousands of price-forward legal solutions out there, yet there wasn't a marketplace for clients to find, compare, and review them, so Everett built one. And he's going to give you a little bit more on his background, a little bit about my guest co-host, Erin Levine. She has spent 15 years advising clients, litigating, negotiating, and mediating contested and cooperative divorces and running a respected boutique family law firm in the Bay Area. While she's received all the certifications, accolades, and awards that any family lawyer would strive for, she became disillusioned with the system that routes divorce through court, pitting spouse against spouse. She created Hello Divorce, which allows you to do some monthly, or you've got the divorce navigator. Let's say it says this: Hello Divorce was created by smart lawyers, though Erin's here with us, so I'm not certain. Smart lawyers with big hearts. We get to help good people at affordable prices because we harness technology, cut out the overhead. You pay a flat rate or reasonable monthly fee, and we provide self-help software and access to top-notch legal assistance. That's best summary. Erin, welcome. Everett, welcome. Thank you for being here.
After all these years of knowing you, you had to read my bio. You couldn't just say a few words about how awesome I am.
I wanted to read a little bit about your company because I really like your company. I'm a little cold on you personally, but the company, but it's not about you. Tonight is about Everett.
Yeah. Hi, Everett.
On brand hoodie. Tell us how you got into you're not a practicing lawyer, you're a software developer or software engineer. Yep. And tell us how this came to be. Tell us a little bit about your background that came into creating Instant Attorney or My Instant Attorney.
Yeah, so it's Instant Attorney.
It is, okay.
Owns InstantAttorney.com. I have spoken to him on the phone. Yeah, he wants like 100K for the site. Yeah. So I'll save 50K per letter and put myinstantattorney.com.
Gotcha.
Do you have the trademark for Instant Attorney?
Nobody does. So,
okay.
And at this point, I think would have to get prove, because he still has a site up, and there's also there's an instant.attorney that is when people thought building apps for direct to consumer, finding a lawyer services was a good idea back when the iPhone and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's just a site that's been rotting since 2011, but at least
yeah.
I guess where I started.
Yeah, where you started. You're a little bit on your background, and then how you got to creating Instant Attorney.
Yeah, so I guess I studied computer science and business in college, and then put that to the side, did the Peace Corps, came back, tried to start my own business in a completely different industry, got a month into that and said, I only have $10,000 and don't have a car. So I started working full-time as a software engineer. Part of the way through that, I also was working full-time and doing grad school part-time in master's in information management. So figuring out how data moves through organizations. Got done with that and said, why don't I do law school? Because I had been interested in that and privacy law. And kind of as Nick and I were talking about before we got on air, in the US, privacy law is you're either kind of working for big companies or you're doing class action lawsuits against them. There isn't really a sort of one-on-one helping people that I was interested in doing. And so I started looking actually at bankruptcy law, and then was like, I don't want to do what would be 4 years of part-time law school. Why don't I take the technology, software engineering experience I have and build a TurboTax for bankruptcy? And so I kind of started down that road, and then discovered Upsolve, and then through Upsolve discovered DocAssemble, which Erin knows about DocAssemble. So like 2 levels of separation. Hello Divorce is using Documate, and Documate is built on DocAssemble.
Yep.
Which is a open source expert system by a gentleman named Jonathan Pyle, who's a lawyer and programmer. And so I found that, and it's an amazing project. And then just at that point had been sort of researching for like 8 months. And so I was like, I just need to launch a company, just fail forward, launch something. And so I started Clerical, which is the company behind Instant Attorney, originally as a kind of like value added vendor for DocAssemble. But Jonathan Pyle does such a good job at like manning the Slack channel and giving service and support. I was like, oh yeah, they need service and support for this open source project, you know? You know, I heard all these like, you know, people just being like, Jonathan's amazing. And I was like, yeah, but relative, you know, open source project. And no, Jonathan's better than paid technical support. Like you will mention something on the Slack channel, and then by the end of the day, he will have pushed up a new release with the feature that you just asked for.
Wow.
It's like,
yeah.
And so did you build Instant Attorney on it as well, or?
Well, so the idea was originally to have that kind of like expert system, like value added provider, and then eventually maybe like a low code platform. And so I thought through how to build that. And then before I started executing, Community Lawyer launched their app builder, and Documate was kind of already out there. And both of those do a really good job. And so for me, I didn't feel like I needed to reinvent the wheel, I guess, is, you know, the next step. That was something that I needed to have to be there to do the next thing, which is to make those legal apps easily accessible to people, and overcome, which would be actually interested in Erin's experience on this with overcoming customer acquisition, what CAC, customer acquisition cost, and total lifetime customer value. And so especially in the internet age with software, like those are your 2 main metrics that you sort of deal with. And so it's very difficult in consumer facing legal because you're competing against the attorneys who are willing to pay $60 for a click on Google for a lead, even though that lead can never pay the $10,000 retainer that $60 click lawyer is going to require. So, so that's kind of where Instant Attorney came from, and I can explain more on that. I've also been talking quite a bit.
No, that's okay.
No, that's so great. Is it fair to say that you're much more excited about talking to me than Nick? I know it's a show, but like really, you were excited to hang out with me, right?
I am. You're co-hosts, so I am co-excited for.
Okay. Oh, look at that! Right. Look at that diplomacy. Look at that diplomacy.
No, but like I think, you know, hidden underneath all of this is the fact that like you don't have to do any of this. Like you seem to have a great career and all these things going for you. So is the real motivation behind this like the access to justice piece? Is that what like gets you going? Because as we all know, startups are not easy, and you're thinking about it 24/7. There's no way to really shut your brain down.
And Erin, can I stop? Because that is a great question. But can we tell for the people watching on Facebook, hi, Megan and Ashley and Julie and Alan, thank you for being here. Questions, please post them. And thank you to, we've got some attendees over here, Megan, Stephen, and Tom. Please feel free to ask questions, but I want to tell us what it does, and then maybe go into Erin's question there, if that
Why
works.
even have me here if you're not going to let me?
I want a little background for our listeners, audio and video, and then into that.
Okay. Although background would be his motivation for starting the company, but okay, it's your show.
This will be ongoing.
Erin, yes, access to justice is definitely the motivation for that. And I can.
It's okay. You can answer his question.
Okay. Can I share screen? Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Let me see. I will pull this one up. So this is can you guys see now the kind of a website here pulled up?
Not yet. I'm not seeing anything yet.
Okay. Oh, share. I have to hit the share button.
There
Brilliant.
we go.
Okay. So this is, if you search for bankruptcy in just Wyoming, right, this is a kind of a result that comes up on Instant Attorney, or if I come back to the landing page. You're here. If you are familiar with state portals, this is like kind of the consumer front end that's a little bit equivalent to a state portal. You click on bankruptcy and it'll pull up the results that, for bankruptcy, for Upsolve and then Legal Aid of Wyoming. I only have a couple of things in here. We launched last month and we haven't gotten the full data entry mode. It's just kind of, an open beta, but you can click here and do learn more and check out Upsolve or hit qualify now. And what that does is let you programmatically qualify for the legal aid service.
Is this whose qualification, so it's their qualification, but your software, or how does it work?
So great question. So I am going to, let's see if I can stop sharing, and then I will share another screen real quick. Pop on to here, which is, so this is the admin interface. Are you guys seeing sort of a different screen now? Like a dashboard? Okay.
Yeah, I see a dashboard.
Yeah, so this is the what's called the hub. So this is where partners would come in and edit information. So you're asking about where does that come from? So we are looking at bankruptcy, which is under money issues for this organization, for Legal Aid of Wyoming. And we come down here and this is the code. So that's the code, and it's open source. So the organization could come in and edit it, or if you have I've been doing a bunch of hackathons, so done a couple LLC hackathons and stuff like that, where you can come in and just for a day, do that for just a single organization, basically, and encode their eligibility information in there, or Code for America or Legal Hackers Group can do that within their community. And so the whole system is a closed wiki, so it's collaborative. There's track changes on here. So I guess people on the phone, this might not quite make sense, but I'm basically, if you think of like Microsoft Word or Google Docs, you can hit a history button and go in and see the revisions and who made them. And so
a form of version control, essentially.
Yeah, taking that software idea of version control and applying it kind of like with Wikipedia, where you can see the history and track who made what changes. And
So ideally, you have an organization that now wants to come on Instant Attorney. Do they get a login and they can complete their their profile on their own minus some code?
Yeah, so the default to the having the code in there is just a kind of pass all, like everybody qualifies. And so if you don't know what you're doing with the code, then you don't have to worry about and touch it. And the idea is that it is crowdsourced. So the organization themselves can come in and update their listing, or, I can come in or you can come in. And if you say, hey, I want to add Hello Divorce on there, right? You come in, put Hello Divorce up. If I had a little more forethought, I probably should have thrown it in there just to show you, you know, having it up for the for the interview. But yeah.
And so, tell me a little bit. Erin, go back to the inspiration was access to justice, if you would. Can you remember that far back and ask that question again?
You must be talking to a different Erin. Yes. Well, I mean, I am so impressed and like so excited whenever I see people, I don't even want to say outside the profession because now we've welcomed you in, but like anyone who's really like seeing a need and coming in and trying to and creating a solution when the last thing you have to do is something like this. So I'd like to understand a little bit more like the inspiration behind it, and then at some point, it might be too early in the talk, and I'm sure Nick will let me know, where you, like, whether there's a goal to monetize or not. And if there is, knowing you, it's probably not just to become rich and famous, but to fund something else. So, like, share a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So, it definitely, the goal is definitely the access to justice part. I think also my brain, like, it's a tough problem, right? It's a total market failure. And even if you go into the legal aid sort of space with it, there's lots of politics there. And so talking to the leadership, you know, at LSC and things like that about like their state portals, and that for those state portals, they kind of originally envisioned a single national portal for this new portal program that they were doing, but they like trying to herd all the kittens to like make a single national portal just wasn't politically feasible. And then there was also the idea to have, you know, legal apps like, you know, like LegalZoom and those sorts of things, and flat rate providers all on the same portal. But again, trying to get the stakeholders there was difficult. And so for me, as someone who doesn't have venture capital money, so I don't really have to worry about, you know, a 10x return in 5 years or something like that. I can kind of slow burn work on what I think is a good solution to the problem, which is having a central repository for those resources, and then having the tech background to understand, well, if this is like a headless CMS, it doesn't matter the front end, or for other people, a headless content management system. Mm-hmm. So you can just use an API to pull that data and use it wherever you like. And as far as the monetization part of that, the idea is that affiliate links would, from things like LegalZoom or Hello Divorce, which aren't legal services, right? They're legal information products, would help to fund the site. And so that way I avoid all the fee splitting nonsense from the bar associations by not making money from legal services, for making that from legal products.
That's a good, so for example, just a simplified example for viewers and listeners, Hello Divorce wants to come and be listed in your service, in your CMS. And what would a monthly cost be for that?
Oh, it's free.
That is free. That's totally free. So there's no subscription cost.
There's zero subscription cost. I mean, the key is like, it's free to be a what I'm calling community partner. So if you're into access to justice, you sign up for the site. It's free. You can, part of this is again, it's like like Wikipedia. I can go and make a page for Everett Pompeii on Wikipedia, but they're probably going to take it down because they're like, you are not a notable figure, right? And so if you go and try and put some weird scummy app thing that looks really sketch, I'm not saying I'm not going to take it down, and I might email you but
Right.
in order to be a partner, you have to go through and get accepted to the site.
Okay, that's good.
And
A little vetting.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you could have these lawyers paying for advertising that would not be considered fee splitting.
Yep.
And then, I mean, just theoretically, the places like Legal Aid or even like Hello Divorce that are serving people of modest means, maybe they're the ones that might not all, I mean, get a break or not have to pay as much. I mean, there's just there's all like lots of different ways to do it. But who is the ideal like client avatar? So who do you want to see on this site, searching for legal help?
Yeah, great question. So basically, I mean, the large answer to that is anyone who can't afford an attorney in the traditional retainer $250 an hour sense, which is like 80%, like 60-80% of people, and then within that, there's which groups in that would make the site monetizable and viable. But the thing is I think even people who possibly could qualify for some legal aid or legal support, if there's a service that's $25 or something online, maybe not for divorce, that complex of a thing, like, would you rather just do that in the convenience of your home and make that work for yourself, as opposed to taking off work, going through public transit, getting to, the office, applying, and those sorts of things. And so I think there's a really huge, like, missed, like, both public service and way of sort of gaining goodwill and advertising in some ways of having legal aid organizations on your site. Some of the newer sites have kind of started to add links and stuff like that, but I don't think it goes far enough. That's hence the like programmatic qualification and things like that, and really letting people know these are all the resources that are out there.
And they're vetted.
Yeah.
And how's the adoption been for you so far? I know that you've been working on this. So you said I met Everett at the Legal Services Corporation Technology Conference, and he was dressed in the orange hoodie. He stood out. He was on brand more than anybody else there that I noticed, because it's the neon orange. But how have you experienced pretty good adoption from the legal aid organizations wanting to participate?
So, I mean, it's definitely, so last year I was there and I was talking about this, but I think there were two problems. One, I had a really rough dock assemble, Airtable, like proof of concept that I was showing. And also for me, the idea probably wasn't quite as clear. I think I was also worse at explaining it, didn't have a demo, and, in making the thing, you have to figure out the thing that you are making. And so, just a month ago, I think kind of being there again for the second year, and there's some people, especially in the doc assemble community, who I've seen at other conferences and kind of collaborated with on certain things that are kind of seen it grow throughout the year. And there's definitely some great follow-up that's been going on about getting them on board and essentially using Instant Attorney as that headless CMS for them for either their state portals or for referring people who they can't serve at the legal aid over. Yeah.
How do you decide what is fast and affordable? Like there might be some lawyers, for example, that do charge $10,000 retainers, but they also do some fixed fee unbundled legal services. Would they be considered affordable to you? Or is it really just these non-legal services that are offering, non-attorneys who are offering doc assemble type products?
Yeah, so it is the type of legal resources that are available on the site are apps, books, forms, and services. And those services break down to legal aid, court self-help, the limited scope full scope, legal plans, and legal insurance. So as long as you're price forward, which is what I as long as it's got a price tag on it, right? You go on to Airbnb, it tells you how much the room is.
Right.
And I understand, legal's a little more complicated than that, but you can at least give people an idea. And I've put a pretty complex pricing ability in there, so you can put your retainer fee, your contingency fees, your starting at price for that.
But just as long as everybody knows what that is going into it.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have a pretty solid qualification for becoming a member. Let's call it a membership, even though, or a partner. Thank you.
So you can be a partner even if you don't have services or you don't even list your own. You're just like, hey, even if you're an attorney who does run a very like boutique or high-end law firm where it's not that kind of pricing model, but you're interested in access to justice and you want to help maintain the site, you're more than welcome to join as a community member and help with the data entry, essentially, and the knowledge aggregation of those resources. So.
I'm really excited about this because it's wonderful that people can access legal aid through it. And some people don't even know that exists, or if one exists near them, or if they do, what type of law that legal aid provides. But I'm also really excited about people being able to find other types of legal services that might fit their budget, because it might not be perfect, but it's likely going to be a whole heck of a lot better than what it is. And I think that a lot of people that have these legal services companies, they live these companies, so they think everyone knows about it. But as you know, they're not competing either with these, like with the giants that are spending $1.5 million to advertise their services. And so there are a lot of people that don't know. And so if there's one place to go where they know they can find this, I think like the vision is excellent. I'm excited about it. And I think it sounds like you're open to, as this develops, what other, maybe not necessarily qualifications, but subsets we can start thinking about that would be helpful to the consumer.
Yeah, exactly. So, I've built the site to be extensible. So for me, adding, another resource type or what that is pretty easy. It's in programming, it's called like the black triangle. It took like 6-7 months to get basically a black triangle up on the screen, as far as being able to edit even applications were the first ones I put in there. And then within like 3 weeks, I had all the other different types in there and editable. So.
And are you going category specific, targeting groups right now? Any individual category that you think, all right, we need to fill this, and then we're going to hit this?
So right now, this is also why I'm like calling it open beta. So the NSMI v2, which is the taxonomy that we're using, it's the National Subject Matter Index version 2, which Margaret Hagan at Stanford is working on, also in partnership with David Colarusso at Suffolk. And so I'm using that as my taxonomy, but it's not done yet. Okay. So the reason I only have a couple of things in there is I'm waiting for that full taxonomy before I go into data entry mode and tagging everything, because I have like a couple hundred bookmarks, if not like over 1,000 bookmarks from all of the, the Hello Divorce kind of products and services across all the different legal categories. As long as it's what I consider consumer facing, so like consumers or small business, then I'm going to be listing that, and so no, I have not, totally tagged a bunch of stuff. I think I might start. It's one of those interesting things of, do you start by topic area or geographically?
Right.
Do I just take all the divorce apps that I found, or do I do that? I
haven't figured that out. So we got Lori Gonzalez, Colin Levy, Kim Bennett's watching, Ashley Pepitone's watching, and we have Tom Hoffman. we have a Tom Pompeii here, which I'm assuming there's a
Oh,
relation because
hey.
and Megan is watching, Megan Sparkman as well. So please, if you got questions for Everett Pompeii's,
Nick, Megan's had a question for like 10 minutes and you've just ignored her.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Thank you, Erin, and thank you
Yeah.
for pointing out my failures as an individual. I really, it's always nice to have you here. Megan asks, what is a taxonomy? Could you
What is a taxonomy? So the most popular taxonomy, I think, is the taxonomy of life. If you think about like kingdom, phylum, class stuff.
Okay,
so
you're still too high level.
Okay, plants and animals, right?
Okay.
You got life, and then it comes down, and you got plants, and you got animals, and
it's a classification system, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You gotta speak to, you gotta, when you're talking with me, we just gotta break it down really simple.
Yeah, you just gotta like dumb it down for him.
Dumb it way down for me. I will take that hit. Good question, Megan. I appreciate the questions. Yeah, it's a classification system. And I did, since Kim Bennett's watching, I do want to reference when Kim was a co-host with me, she got, the guest said like 2 or 3 times, great question. And Kim, I'm well aware that Everett has already told Erin, great question once, and it hurts. It hurts. Everett, so are you doing anything jurisdictionally? Is there any action where, all right, I'm focusing on West Coast first, any of that, or not?
So, I mean, I'm based around DC in Northern Virginia. And
Okay.
so so for me, you know, like there's a little temptation to kind of like go around and, you know, knock on doors basically in the DC area and try and get that filled out once I do start putting things in. And so I think there's an appeal to that side. If you look at sites like Aunt Bertha, which is on the social services side of things, they have sort of an equivalent of kind of what I'm trying to do with Instant Attorney, but with social services, which is a publicly searchable directory for social services. And their monetization is they sell a case management system to those social service organizations and essentially let them do referrals through that. And they move city by city. So, you know, it's definitely a very viable model. And for doing the social determinants of health, as far as that goes. So it's SDOH. So if I kind of get that in a single area, I can then go to hospitals and say, hey, you know, the outcomes from legal issues actually affect people. It's like, you know, they are now able to use federal funding from health dollars to help with legal aid programs now. That's not allowed. Because of the social determinants of health, because it has such an effect, right? And, you know, the like normal example is you have someone who's homeless and they keep showing up in the emergency room. If you help get them in a shelter and maybe some other services, then they might come to the emergency room less. And statistically they do.
That makes, Erin, you must have seen this in your practice, the financial, the emotional toll that something's taken on somebody going through divorce, impacting their health. Do they ever reference that when they're meeting with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people reference it. You can just see it on their faces. Sometimes it's as blatant as they'll have an eczema breakout or be exhibiting panic attack type symptoms. But oftentimes it's invisible as well. I think, you know, for me, I've been talking to a lot of employers in the hope that they will cover some of our services, or that a legal insurance carrier might say, hey, we'll cover, you know, these legal services, even though they're not necessarily with lawyers. And my approach has been similar to yours in that I say, look at, like, your employers are like my target people. And when people are in crisis, or they can't resolve their legal issue, so they have to go to trial, there's nothing more stressful than that in the world. And so let's figure out how we can triage this early on. And it is a medical issue. So I'm happy to hear that, like, that there's some movement on that front.
A little bit, yeah. It's a more holistic sort of a preventative care or wellness wellness type of theory. We have a question from. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Are you going to bring up Tom's question? Because I was just going to take over since you were neglecting to look at the question and answer board.
You know, when you bring a litigator onto the show, it's very frustrating because they want to take control of everything, litigator and mother. If Tom asks, if you want to compare pricing between lawyers to see if you're getting a good rate, is this a service for your site?
Interesting. I like that question.
Yeah, I mean, so yes is the short answer. I think, you know, search cost is a huge thing. So for consumers of legal services, they don't know what things cost. I mean, the biggest site, Avo, like, it's kind of optional and buried down at the bottom, you know, as far as pricing goes. And so that's why everything has to be priced forward. So you can see that and kind of get an idea. And I was going to mention this earlier. With the site, you can have many services, right? So a lot of other sites are very lawyer-centric, right? It's like, here's the lawyer, and here's their broad practice areas.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And so the idea with the site is that, and this is why I'm also waiting on the full taxonomy that to be able to get to really specific things, as specific as possible. For, you know, it's $500 for this block, right? In like the flat rate or unbundled part of a service. And so especially being able to compare those, or see that, hey, I might be able to do most of this, pay for these three things, that's a fifth of the cost of just the retainer. You know.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I'd love to be able to have the feature of, especially since we're trying to collectively bring information to the site, of saying, like, based on these US Census statistics, you know, or whatever statistics, you know, the average cost of such and such action, a landlord tenant eviction or divorce, is X amount of money. You know, and give people a sense for what other people are paying lawyers in that general locale. That would be really awesome.
Yes. I mean, this is where I'm like, if Clio ever wanted to like launch this, they could just
right. But in the meantime, like you can't necessarily filter by the pricing, right? That would be so tricky, because when you're dealing with non-lawyers, like, you can't really compare a software to legal advice and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's definitely it is difficult, right? And so trying to, and this is hopefully part of the, you know, the ethos of the site, and what I'm trying to do is to explain like what that is. And there's no site out there that helps guide consumers in that way, right? Okay. In between, you know, Hello Divorce is fantastic, and you guys, you know, do a great job on your site trying to explain how this is different from an attorney, but you know, as a consumer, you generally maybe want like a third party also like explaining things to you and saying, this is the market, right? And it took me a long time to figure out all the things.
So like a Capterra does for software purchases.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think that anytime you're asking a consumer to try something that's different than the status quo, even if it's something that would potentially benefit them, that's a little bit scary. And so the more information we can provide them, especially from a third party, other people that have used their services or software, is fantastic. So it can only get better, like, as people start really engaging. And so I'm wondering what plans you have and how we can help you to get the word out. to other legal services, aside from like legal aid and stuff, which you seem to have covered, and most of us don't have like the political connections to be talking to them anyways. But you know, what can we be doing? Like, how can we support you?
Yes, sign up to be a partner. You know, sign up to be a partner and start. I mean, you can start putting things in now. You can add Hello Divorce in and get it in there. And, you know, right now you can only get to, I think, the top level of labeling things as divorce, but that full taxonomy, we get that in there. You can, you know, go down to uncontested divorce, or even, again, label things in a more specific manner. And so,
and Erin's question actually goes hand in hand with a question Ashley asks over in Facebook. She says her firm breaks the average cost down per stage of a divorce in order to help their clients budget for litigation. Is there a way to, is that what you're talking about as the taxonomy comes in? Is there a way that she could do that?
Yeah, so I would essentially see those as particular in order to accommodate, you know, a unbundled legal services fees and being able to add those into the site. And then it just kind of becomes the part that I'm still figuring out on my end of how do you present that to a consumer in a digestible format, right? Because they're not going to know that, you know, I could tell them this is for Form A, being helped on Form A and Form B, but they don't know that, you know, that they're Form A and B in that order, right? It's and so, like, I mean, Erin has a great flow chart for California, which is guiding them through like the 28-step insanity.
Right. I mean, it's so hard to simplify these things because, I mean, that's what, like, you know, people, the team over at Stanford works on every day, you know, of the year, is trying to simplify these really big processes. And a big part of why I think it's so complicated is because a divorce or a bankruptcy or any of these things are really lawsuits, and lawsuits are complicated, you know, so we try our best to simplify it, but it is really challenging.
I think I told you about this, Erin. I was sitting here, one of our friends was in town, and he was telling us about his friend who was trying to get a divorce, and he tried to file twice, and he it was an amicable, uncontested divorce. They just couldn't do the paperwork right. And it's
and the clerks are rejecting these paperwork for the most absurd reasons ever, not necessarily even lawful reasons. It's just it blows our mind. Like, we as experienced lawyers can't seem to sometimes get uncontested divorces through. Imagine being self-represented.
Right.
And so I think, like, the more, like, maybe even, you know, legal document assistants or paralegals or other people that like help process the paperwork should be able to apply to be on your site too, because they're so necessary.
So there's a Boolean, a true false about whether you offer attorney-client privilege. So if you're a document preparer and you do limited scope work and there's no attorney-client privilege, that you are welcome to put yourself up as a service on the site.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool.
You know, like bankruptcy petition preparers. There you go. They're more than welcome. And that's the idea, is that all those different alternatives and services would be presented and explained like this, you know, this is what it does. This is the limitations of it. In plain English, simple English, you know.
Like we did, like you have to do for me. Make it very simple.
Break down the taxonomy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Break it down. Give me the 1-word answer here, or 2-word answer. And Kim Bennett had to leave. She said she's going to come back to watch, but she loves what you're doing. And Ashley mentioned she can give you a Georgia flow chart for marriage too, or for divorce.
I'd love to see that. Ashley.
Ashley, if you have a link, post it in the Facebook page. What haven't we covered? Because we're coming up on about 45 minutes here. What haven't we covered about Instant Attorney that you would need to share, that you need to have said tonight?
Wow.
Or would just like to share?
That I would like to share.
Don't make it easier for him, Erin.
I think
There's no need. He doesn't
There's a
need
need.
to do anything.
I'm
He
demanding.
wants to share.
What
like
would
I said,
you like to share?
If you're a partner or someone who's interested in access to justice, please sign up as a community partner. If you know, as part of that, if you want to also like have these legal resources available to people in your organization, please let me know. I mean, it's a really agile site, you know, as I'm building it. So anyone who has ideas or even critiques, you know, all are, you know, kind of welcome on that feedback. I would like to, you know, be able to, you know, lead the charge and say like, go and put everything on there.
Right.
But hold off a little bit
Right.
until that taxonomy is done. And yeah.
I think I think one thing I'd want to say that I think should be heard for those who don't see that, who only hear the audio on this, is when Everett approached me at the conference, he had the tablet and he showed me the site, and it is a very clean user interface. Very sharp looking site, and you spent some time on that, so you know I can understand the slow growth to make sure that it continues to be clean and usable and helpful. I do, but I want everybody to know that I thought it was very sharp looking when I saw it, and very smooth to use.
I don't think anyone has said the words sharp looking in probably 35 years.
Probably not.
You're like the youngest old man I know.
I know.
But
I know.
I agree.
But you do have some really sharp looking glasses on right now. I'm digging those.
These are my first glasses, 42, finally.
This is a legitimate compliment. I think they're awesome.
I think it's really clean too. I really appreciate it. It's not cluttered. You speak directly to the people. It's not like in plain English. You know, the icons, well, we know millennials love icons and illustrations over stock photos. I'm not a millennial, but I like it too. Just being able to click on the actual state as opposed to, you know, it being another box you have to check off just to find something, I think is great. Do you see lawyers, like, you know, a lot of times, as you know, lawyers that pay for leads get a lot of crappy leads. And I'm sorry, let me rewind. Not necessarily crappy, leads that cannot afford their services. And so can those lawyers be either using the site to search for some alternatives for the client or send that client here? Like, do you anticipate it being used that way?
So I definitely do. And my hope is essentially that there's a lot of wasted like exhaust in the legal space, right? Like someone comes to you, Erin, right? And they're looking for like you do family law, but they're like, I want to do bankruptcy, right? And you're like, I don't know how you found me or why you thought, you know, I do bankruptcy, but you know, and so having somewhere that you can send them, if you don't already know about Upsolve or something like that, is kind of the idea behind the site, especially. So both for legal aid organizations to be able to send people that way, and also for attorneys. And long term, I would hope with enough critical mass, I could actually start paying people who refer people to the site. So especially
an affiliate kind of thing.
Both affiliate, yeah, exactly, affiliate. So kind of a possible pay per lead with that, or especially with the legal products, it's a little easier to do that. But trying to avoid the feed splitting while also putting people towards services is just kind of definitely something I'm still trying to kind of figure out and, you know, navigate all those fun regulations. So
that's good. Megan asks a question here. Can you read reviews of legal products or services on Instant Attorney?
So
or do you have a plan to do that?
Not yet.
Okay.
There's a star rating that's like currently hidden.
Okay.
Originally the idea was to have user reviews, but Now I'm kind of going to do more of the Wirecutter editorial reviews, NerdWallet. Given how much I have researched things and kind of how in depth you need to kind of go and compare and contrast these solutions, I'm going to be doing really long form, like 2,000, 3,000 word in-depth reviews of the products.
I like that because, you know, I know that we've become a welcome Mitch, welcome Travis, Mitch Jackson and Travis Luther here. I know that we've become a review-based society, but I know there's also significant blowback to it. You know, reviews are getting gamed, or you've got and so I like the way that you're contemplating doing it.
Thank you. You know, part of it is you're gonna have to tell some people their baby's ugly, and like, you know,
that hurts. That hurts, but you got to say it, right?
You got to say it, you know. You know, like, Erin, so my thought for a format, I'm going to throw this out on air, so let's see how this goes, but is to ask companies to, one, give me like a 1-hour walkthrough of their entire product. And then do, like, also, if they could give me an account, because I'd be cool with paying for it, except for these services tend to be very expensive.
Right.
So, you know, trying to do a review as much as I can, you know, and it's not like I'm getting anything. It's not like Casper's giving me a mattress to review their mattress.
Oh gosh. I mean, I think that if, you know, you might have some more trouble with companies that are, you know, VC funded and don't necessarily see the benefit of your site yet because it's not huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, like for me personally, yeah, I'd love to demo our product, get your feedback. You'd start by signing up for a free account, and then I would just upgrade you. And yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I think if for a lot of them, I would add to that, I think a lot of people will be willing, especially in the legal aid community. I have to imagine they'd be willing to let you demo to improve their appearance on this new directory.
Wait, what do legal aid companies have these legal products, Nick?
Some have some products, but I mean, I think don't be a jerk, Erin. Don't be a jerk. But I'm sorry. I think a lot will give you free. Maybe I misspoke, but a lot will give you free options or free demos or free accounts for a short time in order to review, in order to improve their appearance on your site.
Yeah, and the more you do this, the more we're going to want to pick your brain. I hate that saying. I probably learned it from Nick. But because you're going to see a lot of what works for these products and what doesn't. And so you might become that expert that we all turn to say, hey, what do you think about this or that?
And
but I'll be your test
test dummy.
No, I don't think that's the same at all.
No? Oh, okay.
Awesome, Erin. Okay.
Is it like the crash dummy? Is that?
No, it's like Test Genius or something.
Okay. Yeah. All right. No, I think a lot, because you're coming at it from an access to justice perspective, I think a lot of people will be willing to work with you on that. I think Erin's right that some VC funded will be like, so we're just going to let this person into our system and so he can steal our
are they going to sign the NDA? And,
right. I think you'll have some of that.
But I could still pay like $1,000 and go and look at it anyway and take screenshots. It's not
right.
Like,
something that I would have an interest in on that topic, because you were saying if I demo this for an hour or what, how do you scale that? Because you're going to have to go through so much.
You don't. I mean, that's the thing, though, right? Like, if you look at Wirecutter, right? Like, they're kind of a great example of this. They're like the anti-tech blog, right? It was the guy, I think he ran Gizmodo, and they used to churn out 100 articles a day, and he's like, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And so they just write articles that are like 5 best microphones, you know?
Right.
And it's all Amazon affiliate links, pretty much. and they do.
So you do the slow development rather than
evergreen articles. I
have one more question for you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how familiar you are with SEO, because that's going to be such a crucial part about really getting this out and organic searches. And if so, great. And if not, like, are we aware of any, like, well, let's just start there.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely SEO. I'm actually going to be, the proof of concept site is up now. I'm having to do some engineering work to, not to get too technical here, but to make it a statically generated site. So it gets better SEO essentially. So Google can see more of the site easily. It loads faster.
Got it.
And so the idea also is that if I get partners, the way that the content on the site is copyrighted, it's under Creative Commons, but you have to give attribution. And so there will be links, all that sweet SEO link juice back from any site that use the content on the site, and kind of trying to bring it back to that kind of single source of truth of, Google, come look here,
right,
for the information you're looking for. And so, there's definitely chicken and the egg parts of, getting organizations to use this as their directory and get those links, and also the SEO part. But I think, we'll take Hello Divorce here. If someone's, really interested in Hello Divorce, I believe the Google algorithm will give a very high quality review that says, if someone's looking in the Hello Divorce, like, here's a breakdown, right, of it from a kind of a third party, and, has screenshots and kind of goes through the whole thing. And
if you're doing the really long, very decent content, that's going to have a huge, there's going to be huge value there for you. So Mitch Jackson, who came in late, says, he asks, and we're going to wrap up here. So can you give him an elevator pitch before I ask you to let us know where people can get in touch with you?
Okay. Yeah. So Instant Attorney for consumers is a site for where they can find fast and affordable legal help. That everything on the site is price forward. So it means there's a price tag on it, and they're going to know exactly what they're getting and how much they're going to pay for it. For partners, members of the Access to Justice community, it's a collaborative content management system for legal resources. So they can add their resources there for free and also help contribute and keep that listing up to date, sort of like Crunchbase, but for Access to Justice.
There you have it, Mitch. And Everett, where can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, they can, I guess, send me I'm on the emails, epompeii@myinstantattorney.com, or on Twitter at InstantAttorney. And, yeah, that's, or look for me at a conference in the bright orange hoodie.
Bright orange. Yes. Bright orange.
Advocate orange. That is
always. That's when I met you. You were wearing the brand.
You. By the way, before Erin, before I have you tell everybody where they can find you, tell us how you located the orange for the brand, because that's a good story, Everett.
Oh, I mean,
where'd you get the hoodie?
The hoodie, yes. There. If you go to your local Walmart in the wintertime, there's the safety section for the construction workers, and that's there. But I was already looking to use orange. If you look at color theory in marketing, it's a call to action color. So some very good ideas there, and so easy for your market to find your uniform for conferences. Yes. Very cool. I've got 4 of them. I did a whole suitcase of them.
And are there neon orange shirts for summertime?
No, always the hoodie.
Always the hoodie.
Always the hoodie.
All right. And Erin, thank you so much for doing this tonight. It was actually a pleasure to have you. and tell people where they can find you.
Wish I could say the same, Nick.
Yeah, I know.
No, this was fun. Thanks, Everett, for being so candid and transparent about what you're up to, and like we're all rooting for you. And Nick, for having me. You can find me like on any of Nick's social channels. I'm the one who's like, taking his head and putting it back.
Trolling.
Ordinary size.
The younger people
also,
call it trolling.
Yeah, or that, maybe. I don't know. Making your profile interesting is what I call it. But my social handle is @HelloDivorce, and that's across the board, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
And go check out their Instagram and hellodivorce.com, and check out their Instagram. Erin and her team do a great job on Instagram. It is one of my favorite Instagrams in the legal tech community.
Thank you. I'm really getting tired of it, so we're going to be changing it up pretty dramatically soon. So yeah, I'd love to follow. But
the color and coordination and the content that you share is very good. And I'm always there, friend that I am, trolling it, but the comments do help with the algorithm. So
yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody, that's it. We'll be back next week with Lexon for episode 75. Join us 9 p.m. Eastern, and we will see you. We're going to have 2 guest co-hosts next week. Some of you may remember Daza Greenwood. He will be one, and Adam David Long. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.